and family. Magnus is finished for the day, solving puzzles and winning 3 games against Mamedyarov. But chess is still going on in the arena in San Francisco. Wesley is up by 1 point against Arjun Erigaisi today. And if he wins this game 3, he will win the match in 3 games. And look at the bar.
Yeah, it looks like Wesley's fortunes have turned around so suddenly. He won his first game of the whole tournament, and he's about to win his second.
Wow.
The floodgates have opened. That's often how it works at the top level of chess, at the top level of all sports. You might be in bad form, your confidence is low, but as soon as you get 1 win, things start to flow. And if we just do a quick count on the board, White is a pawn up, but also White has full domination. White's knight on f5, beautiful piece. White's pawn mass in the center, control all the important squares. Black's knight on b8, can't get in the game. Black's bishop is just staring at thin air. What do you think, Jovanka? Just game over in the next few moves?
It is game over. I mean, like you say, Erigaisi's pieces are just in dire straits. I mean, they can hardly move. And there you see Wesley just launch his rook up the board. I mean, I have to say, it's like this in life as well. You know, one piece of good luck and suddenly everything starts to work in your favor. It's a beautiful feeling.
It's all in the mind, right? Just if you think that nothing can go wrong, then often nothing ever goes wrong. And yeah, Wesley suddenly just planting his rook deep in the black camp. I mean, he's guaranteed at this point almost to win. White's other rook can line up. You can double the 2 rooks together. White's knight can even start jumping in with some checks right now. Black is just paralyzed. Black can barely move a single piece. And you couldn't even capture White's rook on the last move because it was supported by a nice pawn. It would have been replaced there by a very strong pass pawn. And also the bishop pair, which I love, they have the potential. Those 2 white bishops, they might be blocked by their own pawns right now, but they are on the longest possible diagonals. So as soon as White's able to step forward one last time in the center, those bishops will spring to life and end the game. And plus 5.5, the computer says, even though it's only a 1 pawn advantage for Wesley, that does show just the magnitude of his advantage. Yeah, look at Erigaisi. I mean, it must be so difficult playing 3 a.m. or something in the morning now. Hopeless position. He just hasn't got into gear this whole tournament. Yeah. Just hasn't been able to adjust.
I was wondering about this move. I was thinking, is it possible to capture the knight, be all flashy? And yeah.
The answer is yes.
Wesley says, absolutely. We have to take a dive into this position and find out what happens if Erigaisi captures that rook.
Yeah.
As he's obliged to do, actually, if it's either that or resign.
Yeah, he has to take this rook. We might see him resign, so let's show this quickly. The rook, if it's captured, would allow the white queen to infiltrate. This is a check. If, for example, the black king slides over into the corner, I think there's a bunch of different wins, but the most simple one that I see is the queen just stepping forward. You're threatening checkmate on this square. Remember how powerful knights on f5 can be. There's no real way to defend it other than shuffling across with your rook. And then we talked about the bishops. You can just step White's pawn forward in the center, and this is going to be deadly. The bishop now breaks free, threatening checkmate on g7, and you're attacking the knight. Nothing to do. You just have to give up material here. For example, you can throw your knight in the way. The black queen is defended, so a queen trade here would at least allow Erigaisi to survive a bit longer. But after White captures, we'll see a deadly check, and Black has to shed all of his material if he wants to save this game. And I think in the current position, which we have actually just shown, they are following the variation we showed. Yeah, Erigaisi is about to resign. This is just too deadly, this threat. And yeah, Wesley, great technique. Why not finish it off in style? Why not go directly for the opponent's king when the rest of your position is so dominant?
And he still has 10 minutes on the clock, Arjun Erigaisi, but it's going to be 4 a.m. in the morning in a few minutes for him. He's been very successful over the last few tournaments on the tour. Do you think it is the time zone that is the big issue for him?
Yeah, I think partly it's the time zone. It's just incredibly hard to adjust. Even if you spent days, you know, in that kind of routine, trying to peak at 1 a.m. in the morning, yeah, it's hard the longer the day goes on. And it's no coincidence that the matches, they're just not at his usual quality. Normally he's really tenacious, a great defender, even if he's got a bad position. But yeah, it's the time zone, but also something that Magnus mentioned in the interview, his openings. This game, he was lost after, what was it, about 10 moves as Black? Maybe even less. I think he was lost after 6 moves as Black. And at the top level, players as good as Magnus, as good as Wesley, they will punish you.
Yeah.
So back to the drawing board for Erigaisi. He'll come back stronger. He's already at the elite, and he's already made his big breakthrough, but with a bit more work, a bit more luck as well in some situations, he's going to come back.
At only 19 years old, Arjun Erigaisi, one of those young super talents from India. Super late at night for him. I've been complaining here in Oslo. We finish usually around 2 a.m. at night. Great for you, David, because you're a night person. You're very much a morning person, Ivanka.
I am a morning person.
What has it been like for you?
It's been tough in the mornings.
Yeah.
What can I say? No, it's definitely very hard, and he's playing at. I mean, if Shaq was, he starts at 1:30 in the morning, Erigaisi. So that means it is now, I'm not very good at maths.
It's 4 a.m.
Yeah. I mean, this is very, very difficult to do. I mean, bear in mind, he will have been training for that. But this is also the very first time that he's playing this match format and having to play not so many people and relying on opening preparation, all those critical things. But it is very unusual, actually, as David's mentioned, to see Erigaisi play like this. But I think somehow his luck hasn't been on his side. And he steps forward with his knight. This is just desperation.
Yeah, he captures a pawn, but now if white just steps back, for example, the white queen can step back and take the knight. It has just done. White's actually ahead in material again. If we do a count, white has a knight and bishop and a pawn just for a rook. So white's several points up on the tally in terms of material. And white has this ongoing attack. Look at the G7 pawn. White's dark squared bishop from afar is attacking. White's knight is attacking that pawn. All white needs to do is step back his king to any safe square. I would probably just go back to F1 just to guard white's light squared bishop. I think we'll see Erigaisi give up there.
Yeah, I think that the white king can unfortunately retreat to almost any square. There's only one square on the board that would be an absolute disaster. And there's no way that Wesley was ever going to put the king on the E1 square. Instead, he runs up to F3. And again, the queens are going to come off the board. And this means that Erigaisi has a material deficit. And it's just going to be game over. Nothing to do with expecting him to resign now.
Yeah, pretty much now. Okay, he takes the queens off first. He defends that G7 point that we were mentioning. But, okay, Wesley can just slowly regroup now. He can even capture on G7 if he wants. He will go into an endgame, two clear pawns, two connected pass pawns up. Or you can see Harry the H-pawn start marching. White's light square bishop might repurpose itself. Yeah, this one is a matter of time, a matter of technique. I think Erigaisi is just playing out of inertia now. He just doesn't want to click that resign button, end the day. Maybe it would be wise just to go to sleep, just to get this one out of his system.
I do quite like Wesley's last move, though. It's very sadistic. You know, it's just simply improving his worst placed piece. The bishop is getting ready to relocate itself to the C4 square, attack a rook, and well, Erigaisi just lines up the two rooks, but the rooks are actually not targeting a single thing. Yeah. And I also like your move, H4.
Yeah.
Push the H pawn.
Black is actually attacking that H-pawn, so it makes some sense. But no, Wesley brings his bishop in. I think he's getting ready to try and create some checkmating ideas against the black king. Black's king is trapped in the corner, hence Erigaisi giving it some breathing space. But this still won't help. All white needs to do is add the rook into the mix. Somehow add white's rook into the attack. And yeah, that will be the breaking point. Yeah, the problem, I think the reason we're not showing any lines here is because Wesley can just build up. Black is almost helpless. Black's bishop offside, not doing anything. Black's rooks look nice and pretty on the open file, but every infiltration square they want to use is covered by white's bishops. Still, it's just been a tough day. Tough 3 days, actually, for Erigaisi.
And it's been a tough day for 4 players today. Mamedyarov lost in 3 games to Magnus Carlsen. Erigaisi is about to do the same. And in the 2 other matches, Geary could be about to lose in only 3 games to Duda, bar all the way over to Duda's side. And if he wins, the match will be over. And same situation, Prague has won both of the first 2 games against Liam Le. And the bar very much over to his side here in game 3. Yeah. Does it look like those 2 matches will be finished as well?
Looks like we'll have a wipeout for all of the players who've been down in their matches. Nobody able to fight back and strike. We saw yesterday that amazing comeback from Nh4, but unfortunately that was just lightning striking. It's like winning the lottery, coming back from 2 points down. The other players who are taking risks in must-win situations, they've been punished. And sometimes that's just the way it goes in chess. And okay, Wesley's given up the h2 pawn. I'm slightly surprised. I think this is still good enough, but why complicate it? Why give Black's rook a pawn for free?
I think his plan is to go for the g pawn, and you mentioned that he wanted to mobilize the rook. Now is the time to trade off rooks and take the g pawn off the board, and the black king is going to be helpless.
Yeah, I think that's the most simple right now. We're expecting Wesley to offer the rook trade. The one thing you probably shouldn't get carried away with is, okay, this one is good as well. I was going to say you shouldn't get carried away necessarily and start attacking Black's rook, because suddenly there are threats against the white king. Still, white is winning, but you have to be very careful of your own king's safety. That's why in the position we were expecting the rook to come across. If there's a rook exchange, white's king will breathe a sigh of relief. No more threats against it now, and this pawn would drop next move. But Wesley, he goes for the flashy approach again. He grabs this pawn first. And if the knight is captured, then I don't think he'll take back yet. He might just slide across with his rook, and he's going to break in now with this piece. Due to the pin here, Black's rook is not running away anytime soon, and you can capture it anytime you want. In any endgame, white will be pawns ahead with more active pieces. So Erigaisi just choosing his poison here. He's going to lose this game, but how is he going to go down? Okay, he moves his king. So still hinting that he wants to get active with this rook at least. And I think that's something that Wesley should try to avoid if he can. No reason to complicate the issue. Why not just move your rook across? Offer that exchange that you mentioned, Jovanka.
Yeah, simple is good. And Wesley, well, he's such a practical player. He was always going to do that. I had no doubt.
Yeah, he's maybe, other than Magnus, he's the best player at kind of choosing safety and understanding his limits. And removing all the opponent's fun. And the reason, again, this is so resignable almost for Black is because white's pawns in the center are going to start running forward very shortly. First, you can take this pawn off the board with white's knight. And even if Black's rook takes, you can just protect. Whoops, mouse slip. You can go back. And these 3 pawns are going to decide the game. Black's king alone will not be able to stop them. Wesley going through the motions. He's giving us a good demonstration of getting a winning advantage and not allowing the opponent any counterplay.
Yeah, it's a good demonstration, as you say, of technique. We often get asked, how to win those 1 games. And Wesley's just saying, well, it's all about killing your opponent's counterplay. And there you go. He's very careful with his king. King just moves off the 3rd row, so there's no nasty tricks. And again, the question to Erigaisi is, how are you going to continue? How are you going to fight against these 3 pawns that are going to start advancing up the board? And the answer, unfortunately, is you can't. You can't do a single thing about it.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Black's pawns, they just can't move.
No.
They can't start running. Any Black pawn push will just be captured. And now white's king, I'm assuming it's going to start running. This is clever. Normally, you don't want your king on the 1st rank, but Black has no more checks. If Black's rook tries to give check in the corner, white's dark square bishop will actually come back and take it. So no more checks. You've run out of ideas there. Black's bishop still helpless, really. And white's pawns, if you give him time, Wesley will happily push those pawns, throw them forward. And they are actually surprisingly quick. Yeah. Just a sad day. A really bad day for Erigaisi.
Yes. He's lost all his games in 3, hasn't he?
All his matches so far.
Yeah. So all his matches, I
mean, he's had a tough start to the event. He played Magnus yesterday, Wesley today. Hopefully, for Erigaisi fans, that he'll get some points later on. It's all uphill from here, right? It's all going to get better.
Undoubtedly, the chess will improve, but the problem is, will the mind be always thinking about what could have been? Will it be just lingering on those bad losses? And the one thing I have to say about Erigaisi, he actually mentioned in a previous tournament that he was working with a mental coach, and they very much relied on his parents' support. Whenever he had a bad game, they would talk to him and they would say, it's okay, just keep on fighting. And with the right words, he could often boost his motivation.
It must be so smart for chess players to work with mental coaches, since it's such a mental game.
Yeah, and actually that's maybe the biggest regret of my career, that I didn't employ or didn't talk to a mental coach sooner when I was a bit younger, because there are plenty of things that I feel that a mental coach could have helped with. Now I feel it's, what's the point? It's a bit too late. But when I was younger, I had this mental block when it came to kind of those big money rounds, those final games where a win would get you a prize, a loss will get you nothing. And I just couldn't cope with the tension. I think I went 3 years without winning a final game. And I would just always crack under the pressure. And team events, I would struggle. I just get kind of nervous about my teammates' performances, and then I don't play my usual game, and things like that, which clearly mental coach has helped Erigaisi with. He seems so calm most of the time. But unfortunately, at the very, very top level, when your opponent's inspired, like Wesley is here, you might have the best mentality in the world, but it's hard to fight against their strong moves.
But we see a lot of tilts, right, on the tour.
Yeah.
But maybe if you're working with a mental coach, you are maybe more able to strike back after losing.
Yeah, I mean, we saw it yesterday from Pragnananda. He went on full tilt.
Yeah.
He lost a game against Anish, and then he lost another game, and that was very critical. He couldn't handle that, and he also lost tie-break game. And but then you kind of saw that because he has his coach Ramesh with him, he was able to reset. And today, of course, he comes back swinging harder.
Yeah.
And there we go. The G-pawn is advancing up the pawn board, and we're going to see it advance one square more. And now the king has to put itself in the eye line of the dark square bishop. The knight will just move away with check. And the two fellows, F and G pawns, they're just going to win the game, march to a victory.
Yeah, if you look at the right half of the board, from the E file to the H file, it's just the black king fighting against the whole of white's army. It's like, this is Sparta, it's just one warrior against hundreds almost. And that's why the evaluation bar says it's so good for white. White's knight can move out the way, and that will be a check from white's dark square bishop. Like Jovanka says, you can just continue pushing the pawns, push the white F pawn. Yeah, this wave, this tide that's going to wash over the black king, it's coming. Nothing to do. The knight moves out the way, discovered check. Black king has to run. And then the pawns are moving.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just hard to suggest anything here. Okay, he moves his king. I think this is the best chance, at least stopping the white pawns from advancing temporarily.
That Spartan warrior. Unfortunately, it's not a very good warrior. I mean, it can get checkmated, and you always have to protect it. So I like this move from Wesley. Cool calculation. Once again, the F pawn is threatening to give a deadly check.
Yeah, black C pawn takes too long, simply. He's pushing it, he's trying, this is his best bet, but it still needs, I mean, he needs to move his rook out the way, he needs two pawn pushes, and white's pawns are now gaining time every turn against that Spartan king.
Now they're going to take another step forward.
Yeah, push the G pawn.
That's close to queening.
That is very, very close. And the problem is that when a queen appears, it would also put the king in mortal danger. So even if it is a race and black manages the queen, well, it's not going to be of any use. And here he comes. Gives a check.
Black will give a check. White's about to make a new queen, though. I think any safe square for this king. I think
put it.
Any legal move, I think, is winning for white. But yeah, why not move the king to the G2 square? There we go. Wesley chooses the safest on a light square, away from any bishop checks. And yeah, a white queen is appearing on the board. Next move, white's knight can now come forward and support the advance. Cover that G8 square, promotion inevitable.
Yep.
And Wesley plays that move. A white queen is about to appear. Will Erigaisi resign, or will he allow checkmate? It looks like he's given up.